He's won here 4 times. We'll see if he can get one for the thumb here today at Atlanta. Let's go downstairs and get the call to fire those engines.
Race fans, it's time for the most famous words in motorsports. To give the command, please welcome today's Grand Marshal, Ultimate Tailgating President Michael Bailey, and his 2 sons, Cameron and Caleb.
Hey, we want to thank you guys for coming out to the Ultimate Tailgating 200. What goes better with NASCAR, trucks, and tailgating? On 3. Drivers, start your engines.
Former Truck Series champ Christopher Bell won the Xfinity race to get things started today. Who's going to win the truck race? Finish off this doubleheader in style.
Matt Crafton wins at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
John Hunter Nemechek wins in Atlanta.
Christopher Bell wins at Atlanta.
Oh, thank you guys.
And here comes Brett Moffitt for the lead. Brett Moffitt wins in Atlanta.
Fire, in which substances combine chemically with oxygen and burn. The flames that wrap around the crushed sheet metal and destroyed hopes of a victory at Daytona.
Contact and Dean is going to take out Rhodes.
Oh, trouble, Jordan Anderson, hard in the outside wall.
Austin Hill will win his first career race.
Fire. See also desire, the will to start again. The fortitude to speed door to door around 1.5 miles of banked chaos. Who will emerge as a championship contender and who will flame out?
Hot Atlanta, or cold and damp Atlanta as it would be the case today, but we're getting ready for the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Precipitation throughout much of the morning, and it has been damp. We got the Xfinity race in, and the trucks are about ready to roll for this one. Looking forward to it. Let's go downstairs, check in with Alan Cavana.
And Vince, yesterday, Matt Crafton and his crew chief, Junior Joyner, they loved what they had in their truck, but it was vastly different weather conditions. How much does that concern you for this race today?
I don't think it really concerns me. I got one of the best guys that's ever driven here, in my mind. These guys have worked so hard over the winter. I got to hand it to these 88 guys. I mean, they're primed, they're ready, pit crew's fired up. We got to beat the best in the business, I think, to win today, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, that's what you got to do to win. I just thank Duke and Rhonda Thorson, everybody back at the shop. Man, I'm fired up. I love this place. It's a beautiful sunny day. Got my t-shirt on. I'm ready to go.
He's ready to get to victory lane, Herman.
Well, Rudy Siegel is the crew chief for Kyle Busch. Your driver goes for win number 52, which will be a record in this series. No track time today and different conditions. What concerns you about that today?
Yeah, I mean, this mist, and then it's getting cold pretty fast. So yesterday we had some sunshine practice and we had a cooler practice, but this Cessna Tundra was really fast yesterday. Kyle does a great job. So try to execute, not have any mistakes, and try to get him the record. But you know, get KBM another victory. It's been a while for us, so we got to get back.
That's Rudy Siegel. Kyle Busch gets a lot of the attention, Vince, but Rudy Siegel has done pretty well here over the years as well.
Indeed, and he's working with Kyle for the first time since 2013. But you see the success of Rudy Siegel and the drivers that he has helped to victory lane. 2013, Kyle and Rudy worked together, 5-time winners that season. They're all lined up. We're getting ready to go racing at Atlanta.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Yeah, of course.
That and I'll just sit here. But if you start saying I don't, I'm going to talk.
The truck's getting ready to race at Atlanta for the 18th time. Johnny Sauter's been close today. Hopes to get his first Atlanta win, Phil.
Let's see if we can talk to him. Hey, Johnny, Phil, Vince, and Michael up in the Fox booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. How's it going, guys?
It's going great. We're getting a chance to go racing here. Johnny, you finished third here in this race the last 2 years. Do you have a truck capable of being better?
Yeah, I think so. Was really happy with what the Thor Sport guys gave me this week with our 10 to heel Ford. Obviously, we're starting a little deeper in the field, but had good balance yesterday. We were a little bit loose and ended a little bit tight, so I feel like we kind of hit the middle there and see what we can do.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it. Have a good run.
10-4, thanks.
Mike, let's take a look at that Gander Outdoors track description here at Atlanta.
Well, you're going to get the particulars, Vince. It's 1.5 miles, and you're going to see the banking. But the one thing you need to know about this racetrack, it's slick. These guys are going to be hanging on for control of their trucks from about the second lap one. It's going to stick good for a lap or two, Phil. After that, it's just a free-for-all.
Let's take a look at our race analysis. You see this race is 130 laps, 200 miles. Our stagers are 40, 40, and 50. You see that pit window, 50, 55 laps. That means they could make it on fuel on that last stage. But, Michael, they're going to want tires after about 20 laps. When do you put them on?
You've got to manage that situation. We saw it managed well by the teams last year. Overtime finish, and that's how Brett Moffitt got the victory.
Starting lineup along the grid there on the left-hand side, and let's take a look at those onboards.
This is Toyota onboard. Michael, you talked about it, going for the all-time record here at Kyle Busch. He's going to start from the 7th spot.
Here's the 99 of Ben Rhodes. Looking good, ready to go. He's got a visor cam on for us. He's got the Ford onboard camera, and he's starting 6th. These are going to be great shots from Ben's helmet.
3 former winners in this field. Kyle Busch, a 4-time winner. Matt Crafton has won here. Brett Moffitt won here a year ago. Austin Hill in that blue and white Toyota up front, starting from the pole for the first time in his career. Won last week at Daytona, and now we're green at Atlanta.
Look at Moffitt, making them 3 wide already.
Hill spun those tires and drops back into the clutches.
Did I see 4 wide there a second,
Yes,
Bill?
you did.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
I'm just making sure.
And Harrison Burton is on the point.
Remember, these guys didn't get an opportunity to qualify. Those tires were brand new. That's as good as they're going to get, and they spun the tires on the initial start.
Sheldon Creed in that 2 truck, and Matt Crafton is coming to his outside for second.
Crafton, Vince, was very confident in this 88 truck yesterday. Love what he had. Came on the radio after 10 or 12 laps and said, this thing is cutting and sticking like I want it to. He said to his crew chief, Junior Joyner, and you can tell he knew what he was talking about.
Harrison Burton, the 18-year-old, making his first ever start here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And the 99 of Ben Rhodes inside of Sheldon Creed for second, and now, or for third rather, and now Crafton challenging Harrison Burton for the lead.
How about these Thor Sport trucks? Are they making their presence felt right here early on? We've got 3 of them right now up in the top 5.
Just trying to hang tight. 99 pushing hip. Still out, he got tight there.
Rhodes coming along with his teammate Crafton.
How about the 18-year-old teenager down on the inside battling for the lead against the 2-time champ out on the outside? I was trying to figure out who has the advantage, the rookie or the veterans. And I think with the weather that we've had, it's just too difficult to call. And you can see right now it's too difficult to call who's leading this race.
At the line, it was Crafton for the second lap in a row, but Burton is giving up nothing. That's Ben Rhodes right behind Crafton.
Remember, Rhodes said, I like all 3 lanes, bottom, middle, and top, especially down there in 1 and 2.
And, you know, Phil, a lot of the racers feel like the higher you run, the more it wears your tires. You can run harder up there, and your tires will go away. So it'll be interesting to see if that's the case. Burton's doing an awesome job down on the bottom. Crafton giving him plenty of room. You can see he's not squeezing down on him. Early in the going, Crafton's just tiptoeing out there on the outside. Hermie, what are they saying?
Well, Michael, Harrison Burton doing a great job on the bottom of the racetrack. His first start here, but he did get an opportunity to test at this racetrack a couple of weeks ago, and he told me earlier this weekend that that was invaluable for him to learn not only how to run on the front end of a tire run, but maybe how to manage and save to have a little something at the end of a tire run. But right now, he's digging on the bottom, trying to maintain the race lead.
Well, and Burton is that lone Toyota amongst the Thor Sport contingent. 3 of the top 4 are Thor Sport trucks. Matt Crafton is the leader, and here comes Kyle Busch up top.
This is the one I told you was going to be a real problem for these truckers. And you can see he's dedicated to that top lane. If Matt Crafton doesn't jump up there in turns 3 and 4, well, it might not matter what Matt does.
Wow.
Was that 6th to 1st in a straightaway?
Just about. Kyle Busch, he made a 20-lap run yesterday that had people in the garage area shaking their heads. That truck was so fast at the end of 20 laps.
And it's simple why he was able to make that bold move and be so fast. He waited a few laps on his tires, and then he went up out next to the outside wall and went where no other trucker was at. He went on the high side and drove around them, made it look easy. But those truck racers will learn from that. They know that the abrasive surface here on the outside will wear their tires, but every now and then, you just have to go for it.
And the huge advantage for these truckers is the fact that we just got through with the Xfinity race. So there is a little more rubber up there than if we were the first race of the weekend.
Austin Hill in that blue and white 16 started from the pole, dropped back immediately after spinning his tires at the start. Right now back in 7th as he fights with Brett Moffitt and the 13 of Johnny Sauter on the right-hand side of your screen.
You can see Sauter creeping up in that higher lane as well as he drives away from these guys. Sauter started outside the top 10. He's making a move here early.
Yeah, left side of the screen there, we have it right here. Harrison Burton trying to go back after that second spot and gets it from Matt Crafton, and he's going to bring along Ben Rhodes.
Self-door, you're pulling a bumper. You're clear, man, all clear. Nice work, man. Same thing you did last time. Don't overdo it.
Burton goes to 2nd, Rhodes goes to 3rd, and here comes Enfinger challenging his teammate Crafton for 4th.
All those spotters, you heard how calm they are up on the roof. They're all going to tell their drivers moving forward, you gotta go high. You gotta run that high lane if everybody's stuck down on the bottom. Kyle Busch proved it would work, and everybody in this race learned from it.
And once Kyle got the lead, then he went right back to the bottom of the racetrack to cool those tires off a little bit. Try not to abuse those tires. He knows he has the top if he needs it. He's not going to use it all the time.
The early laps of stage 1. They couldn't wait to get going. Look at Moffitt give Austin Hill a punch. Going to break, side by side. Kyle Busch on a record-breaking mission. If he would win today, would be the winningest driver in Truck Series history. And right now, he is out front. And watch this move, like shot out of a cannon, going from about 7th to 1st on this run.
Side 2. Still inside 2. Give me 3 top, 3, 2 top, all clear. All clear, no more either. Unit 18, clear left. Outside 88, tight quarter, clear.
I just wanted to lay out and watch that magic, right?
That was just silly, wasn't it?
Yes.
Why is he so much faster?
That was just experience. He saw those guys kind of getting wadded up down on the bottom, losing a little bit of momentum and grip, and he knew there was a lane out there that he could take to the lead, and he just drove around them. And I like I said, got trouble somewhere.
Turn 4, just before they got to the tri-oval. The 54 of Natalie Decker.
Decker was running in the top 20, Phil, doing a nice job early. Looks like maybe some damage to the left rear. Makes you wonder if maybe got together with another
Looks
truck.
like maybe more contact with another vehicle than it was the wall.
Had such a tough outing last week at Daytona. Had a flat tire on the first lap of the race and tore up that left front, and eventually had an oil fire, and just her day came to an end before it got started.
Watch all these trucks coming. Just wait. After this black one here, you got a little room.
Looks
okay,
like
just
she's
wait on the field. We're already down one. Just wait on the field.
looks like she's going to be able to continue from here, however, which is good news.
Yeah, Kevin Hamlin, her spotter, telling her, just, hey, we've already lost a lap. Let's see if we can see what happens. Look right side of your screen. Looks like she just got a little bit loose. There was a truck close to her,
and I think
probably there's the contact right there.
Not sure there was contact that led to the spin.
I don't think
though.
so either, Vince. I think she just got a little bit loose with that truck very close to her.
You know, when she had an issue with a flat tire early in the race at Daytona, she tore her truck up getting back to pit road. You can see how slow she's going. That's just her learning from what happened at Daytona. Those tires are flat spotted. If she tried to go fast, it'd tear her truck up again.
Natalie Decker goes to pit lane for repairs. Kyle Busch stays out front, and will return after this. Hey, getting ready for this restart here with a couple of KBM trucks on the front row of Kyle Busch and Harrison Burton. Here's some Kyle radio.
18 is second, yeah? Or do you think a teammate restart would work here or no?
I don't know. I think if they lay over on the bottom as much as it buzzes them on top, if he tried to drag, they're going to split him, put him 3 wide.
Just tell him to watch his back and protect himself. If he's got to go, then go. You know, don't worry about trying to make sure we go into one side by side at all.
Kyle Busch making the call. It will be a teammate restart. 51 takes the outside, hoping the 18 can get going better on the bottom, Vince.
Well, let's see if the choreography works.
And we just haven't seen anyone historically be able to take off on that outside. And Kyle Busch decided he would put himself out there so his young teammate would have the better run toward turn 1.
Really, really hot tires right now. Don't be surprised to see him spin them.
Back green.
Great job by Harrison Burton getting going there. Look at the gap they put on the second row.
Great Burton job on the inside, Kyle outside.
Great job by Kyle getting going too. and we expected that, but that was good teamwork there on that start.
Still side by side. That's Kyle Busch up on the high line and Harrison Burton down low. Right behind them, it's Johnny Sauter and Ben Rhodes.
A bit of a wiggle there on the bottom of Ben Rhodes, that black truck. Right now battling for the 3rd spot.
Phil, you talked to Johnny on the parade lap. He sounded confident. That truck's driven from outside the top 10 at the start all the way up to battling for 3rd now. This is a strong ride.
Seeing the different lines that you can take at Atlanta. Burton on the bottom, Kyle was up top, and Johnny Sauter was running right in the middle behind him.
Yeah, Kyle said, I'm going to give it one lap here. I'm at one corner. I'm going to go up to the high side, go ahead and make this pass and pull right back down to the bottom. I mean, that's how fast that truck is on the top of the racetrack. All these guys have that available to them, but again, you're gonna pay the price probably in tire wear.
Austin Hill, a nice recovery. You see him there behind the yellow truck of Matt Crafton. He's back up to the 7th position. Really struggled at the start of this race, but now looks like that truck's handling. You can see right down on that yellow line. That's a nice line for the blue and white number 16 of Austin Hill.
How about the black number 45 right behind him, Ross Chastain, our 3rd place finisher from Daytona 1 week ago here in the Truck Series.
Chastain running all 3 series this weekend. Ran the Xfinity race earlier today. Will run the Monster Energy Cup Series race tomorrow.
Ran all 438 laps last weekend. The Truck Series race, the Xfinity race, and had a top 10 finish in the Daytona 500.
He's a special young talent, and he's really given this truck a nice ride. He's a guy that everybody talks about being one of the best at hanging on to a loose or a truck that won't grip, figuring out where to get it. Another guy that's pretty good with a loose truck, Stuart Friesen. He's a dirt racer from up in Canada. And man, he can wheel that number 52 truck, and he's heading toward the front.
Good look at Friesen, and on the inside of Ross Chastain is the 24 of Brett Moffitt, last year's winner here at Atlanta and the series champion.
Black number 4 there, Todd Gilliland, another one of the KBM trucks.
You see a little bit of moisture on some of the camera angles that we're showing you. Some of that is just a little bit of, I think, moisture off the track, but there has been a steady mist throughout the course of the day. Very light, but just enough to get on the lenses and make it noticeable.
From about 7:30 this morning till now, I think the weather has been exactly the same.
That mist will get on your nerves too as a driver, huh, Phil? You look at that running down the corner 175, 80 miles an hour and just wonder if there's heavier rain ahead that I'm going to hit.
And there's a little bit of mist, but then when it hits the windshield, you feel like it's a bucket pouring out.
Parker Kligerman in the 75 truck and Sheldon Creed in the 2. That was for 12th position as Kligerman gets the spot. Chastain has gotten by Matt Crafton for 8th.
Good run here for Ross Chastain early on.
We mentioned Chastain running all 3 series. He's running the Xfinity series for points, so that's his primary series, but he's also running full-time in the Cup Series and will run as many truck races as possible, about a dozen, about half the way, half the season.
He has a good truck here too. He started back in the 21st position and he's made his way all the way up here, well into the top 10, right now running 8th behind the 52 of Stuart Friesen.
Nice Motorsports preparing that 45 and the 44 of Timothy Peters.
2 top 10 finishes for Al Neese and his team last week. What a great job they did.
Peters is running along, speaking of Timothy, in the 14th position, so he's doing well early on as well.
Todd Gilliland going to the bottom trying to get a position. Currently running in 11th, make it 10th with that spot.
Moffitt will look at the switch over but decides to fall in behind. There's Timothy in that white number 44 just ahead of Sheldon Creed. He got around Creed. Now he's in the 13th position. And if you're watching at home, these drivers could run well down into that corner deeper than they do. But what happens, Phil, you know, they roll off the gas early and they just try to get that nose stuck right down on the yellow line if they're trying to run the bottom. They let off early and try to just work that bottom.
I was talking to Rudy Fugle, Kyle Busch's crew chief, and he said what happens is that when the pace slows down, and this pace will slow down probably 2 seconds from as fast as they go on new tires to the old tires before they pit. He said the back end comes up off the racetrack because you're not going fast enough to push it down, and the front splitter really rubs and drags the racetrack worse. So sometimes it makes it hard to stay on that bottom and hook that yellow line when you have the splitter down on the racetrack.
Crafton in the 88 and Moffitt to the bottom in that 24. Just ahead of him, Todd Gilliland seems like maybe his truck's starting to come to him a little bit. He's picking up some positions. Now he's working on Ross Chastain. How about that 88 of Crafton, Alan?
Well, it's been an up and down first stage for Matt Crafton. We saw him go from 10th to 1st, but ever since then, it's just been too tight, and he's having a lot of trouble coming off turn 3, and he's just waiting to get a new set of tires when this stage ends, just trying to hang on with it, onto it, as he drops positions as we head toward the end of the first stage.
And we talked at the beginning, Vince, there's just no grip. And whatever end of your truck isn't sticking, that's the one that's going to cause you the most problem. Crafton right now, the nose isn't sticking like he needs it to. So he goes in the corner right here. When he wants to cut left, it's too difficult. The truck just wants to go straight, and he's not able to keep it as low as he wants. But you can see you got to be disciplined. Sometimes if you're pushing like that, you roll out of the gas a little bit earlier, try to get it headed down the hill before you get back on the gas.
And you really want to carry that speed on with your left sides on that yellow line a little bit farther around if you can do that. And Matt Crafton said during practice yesterday, if I can hook the bottom like this, we will kill him, and that's what he's trying to achieve.
How different is it at each end of the track?
It's very different. You'll see trucks just really dedicate themselves to the bottom of both ends, but it just seems to be a little bit simpler to hold it down in turns 3 and 4 on the way off. It's a sweeping entry, and that helps you do that. This is the truck that I'm watching. Austin Hill, we talked earlier about the struggle at the start. He's been able to rebound, and Hill's got some good lap speeds right now.
Yeah, Michael, he spun his tires on the initial start of the race, fell back into traffic, and was just being patient more than anything. Right now, he's good in turns 3 and 4, but right here at the other end of the racetrack in turns 1 and 2, his truck gets too tight, Michael, especially if he overdrives the corner. You would think a racetrack like this would be hard to overdrive, but certainly that's something that Austin Hill is learning inside of this truck.
That just backs up what we've been talking about, Herm. Good report there. The driver can slow down and go faster. It's hard for you to do, especially on a big sweeping track like Atlanta, but that's sort of what these guys need to think and try to do. And what I loved, I can't wait till these pit stops, Phil. I want to see how the communication from the driver to the crew chief and the adjustments they need to get their trucks to turn. Matt Crafton's got so much experience. He can tell Junior Joyner what he needs. Be interesting to see who improves their truck the most.
And guys, they're not going to just ride it out to the end of this stage here. There's some points available. We know how critical these stage points are. You see Matt Crafton going after Ross Chastain. That's another point.
Yeah, the top 10 get stage points, and that right there is 9th and 10th. And Moffitt right behind them in that 24 truck would like to get up into that mix and grab one of those stage points. 1 point can make a difference between making the playoffs or not making the playoffs. Hard to believe you go through this many races during the course of the season and it all can come down to 1 point, but we've seen it happen before. There's the 52 of Friesen, was prowling on Gilliland, and now back to that battle for 9th with Crafton and Chastain.
And there you see Moffitt back there lurking, watching these two, and picks the middle. You talked about the 3 lanes in 1 and 2. You could see it there again.
Rhodes and Hill on board with Ben Rhodes, and that's Austin Hill right in front of him.
Yeah, Ben just lost that 5th spot to Austin Hill. We just had to report how Austin spun the tires at the start, Hermie said, but that truck is really good. Michael, we've been watching the lap times, as you mentioned. He's almost as fast as Kyle Busch.
Let's listen to the throttle. He wants to go, but you really got to work the throttle. And down into 3 here, you can run it a little bit deeper. Let's see what his challenges are down here.
And he's modulating that throttle to keep those left side tires on that yellow line. He does not want the left side tires to slip off that yellow line because he will lose time.
4 laps remaining in stage 1. Kyle Busch continues to lead. Busch has been out front for the majority of this stage. He's led 31 of the laps so far. The first 2 stages, 40 laps apiece, and then that final stage, 50 laps.
Vince, watch how smooth Kyle is with that steering wheel here.
And you can hear him just slowly get that throttle to wide open and didn't slip a tire.
I just can't get over how smooth he is and how well that truck is handling to allow him to be that smooth. See him scraping the apron of the racetrack with those left sides right down next to the apron.
Pit lane closes in the final 2 laps of the stage. 2 laps remaining here in this opening stage at Atlanta.
Vince, that's a battle for the final stage point right there. Ross Chastain has the 10th spot. Brett Moffitt trying to get there to get a point.
Do you see Moffitt had that nose down on that line, but then the back wouldn't stick? That's the balance. You have to keep the front down low, but then the back wants to slip out from underneath of you. Unless you're Kyle Busch and his truck's flying.
The 20 of Spencer Boyd in front of Kyle, getting ready to go a lap down.
How about that 4th place finish last week at Daytona for Spencer Boyd? Best career finish. Did a great job there for Tyler Young's bunch.
That's 2 laps down now as Kyle gets around Boyd. Final lap here in stage 1.
Look at this battle. It continues. How important is one point you talked about, Phil?
They're going after it.
Remember, Chastain not running for championship points in the Truck Series, so Moffitt really wants to get that point. Kyle Busch will win stage 1 here at Atlanta. In the 5 races last season, he only won 1 stage, and that was here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Meanwhile, the battle for the final point-paying position in stage 1 comes down to Ross Chastain. Kyle Busch, in dominating fashion, wins stage 1 at Atlanta. Welcome back to Atlanta, the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series. Stage 1 in the books belongs to Kyle Busch. What a great battle between Ross Chastain and Brett Moffitt for that 10th and final spot. Chastain wins out. Austin Hill, who started from the pole, dropped back and then fought his way back to a 5th place finish in stage 1.
Yeah, that was an impressive run for that team. And Johnny Sauter as well, from outside the top 10 at the start into the 4th position.
Pit stops coming up, and everybody will be glad to get 4 fresh tires and maybe a chassis adjustment as well. We'll begin with Alan Cavana.
And Vince, nearly everyone I'm listening to on the radio saying they're too tight. Johnny Sauter included up there in the 13 truck at the top of your screen. He wants to free his truck up. He says he has to make his front tires live longer because you can't pass without him, Hermie.
Harrison Burton in the 18 is too tight, especially around the top of the racetrack. It'll be air pressure adjustments, both front tires and track bar. The 51 of Kyle Busch, newsflash, he is fast. 4 tires and fuel, and a little bit of a chassis adjustment. He wants to help on his exit just a little bit.
It looked like they dropped a lug nut on that outside rear tire. It took them a little extra time to get their business taken care of.
He's going to lose the lead too, Vince. You can see several trucks by a trio of Thor Sports trucks. That's nice work there. And Kyle slid his tires coming into the box, and then they made a chassis adjustment on that right rear, Phil, and I think that sort of threw off the choreography a bit. Right here's the slide.
There's a wrench right there they put in for the chassis adjustment.
Let's see if we can get a word with Kyle. Kyle Busch, it's Michael and the Fox boys up in the booth. Do you copy?
Yeah, man, gotcha. How's it going?
It's going great. It's just a pleasure to see that passes you made through turns 1 and 2. You got 6 of them and took the lead. How's the truck handling? And did you make any adjustments there?
Truck's been pretty good. First practice, we struggled a little bit, but then second practice on, it's been really nice. So Rudy and the boys have done a good job to this Cessna Tundra. And, you know, we got to just keep our head in the game and stay focused here in order to make sure we can bring home a win.
All right, buddy. Thank you. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
Kyle came in with the lead, exited in 4th. The restart to begin stage 2 when we return to Atlanta. Of course, here in the Atlanta area today, but next Friday, the racers will be in Vegas. There'll be trucks under the lights. The Gander Outdoors Truck Series from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Friday night, 9 o'clock Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Hopefully they get all the snow shoveled off the track in Vegas by then.
That's hard to believe, isn't it?
Hey, 3 penalties during that stop. Josh Rayome, too many crew members over the wall. As far as the 63, Timmy Hill, crew member over the wall too soon. And the 24 of Brett Moffitt, an uncontrolled tire for Moffitt. Restarting to begin stage 2. Grant Infinger on the inside, Matt Crafton outside. Well, that inside lane, the preferred lane, and look at that jump.
And I thought Crafton really did a pretty good job from the outside and lost 2 truck links. How about Kyle in the middle of 3 wide?
4? Do we do
Let's call it 4.
That's 4 wide right there. Don't think Stuart Friesen won't put it in a hole if he sees it. He's a very aggressive racer, and he was able just to dive to the bottom and make that pass 3 wide.
And remember how patient Kyle Busch was at the start of the race, the initial start. He waited a while, then he pushed the button and passed 6 trucks in 1 lap to take the lead, but he's going to the top now. He may want it a little bit sooner, Michael.
But what about Johnny Sauter? He sees Kyle in his mirror going to the top. Johnny said, you're not going to beat me to the punch. I'm going to get to the outside first. Where will Kyle go here? Even higher?
Even higher.
For the lead, 3 of them. Enfinger on the bottom, Sauter in the middle, and Kyle Busch up top.
How about this racing right here?
Oh, Enfinger has to gather it in.
What about our truckers?
Down there, 98, clear high.
Kyle Busch back to the front. Went to pit lane with the lead, came out 4th. Didn't take him long to get back to the point.
Yeah, I didn't mention that when we interviewed him, Vince, because I don't think he really cared. I think he knows that he's got a truck that he can take anywhere on this racetrack, because we're 3 wide again as Matt Crafton trying to get that 2nd spot.
And does. Crafton in 2nd, Sauter 3rd, and that's Enfinger and Stuart Friesen. And that Hallmore Friesen Chevrolet in 4th.
Let's see what kind of adjustments Junior Joyner made to that bright number 88 truck there. Remember, he started off really good in the initial start of the race, then faded a little bit. Let's see if he has a little more staying power now.
I'm glad you brought that up, Phil, because yesterday in practice, he was very happy with his 88 truck. Wasn't quite right at the start. Probably just an adjustment away from being good.
4 wins in 10 starts here at Atlanta for Kyle Busch. How's he feeling about it now, Hermie?
Not too good. He told his crew to get up on the wall. Potential loose wheel on the 51. Keep an eye on it.
And what the driver feels, Vince, when that happens, just a vibration in his hands, you can really tell when one of those wheels get loose, and as the run goes along, it'll just get looser and looser.
The 8 coming to pit lane, and that's Joe Nemechek.
A lot of damage to that truck. Looks like he tore the front splitter off that truck, maybe got into the grass somewhere.
Where is the splitter? It's not with us anymore.
Got to be somewhere.
Look at the dirt torn up in the tri-oval.
He was running good too, Vince. 11th position.
Is that part of that splitter laying on the bottom of the racetrack there?
That would be a break for Kyle if he does indeed have a loose wheel. Team could come in and check it out.
Looks like maybe half of the splitter is gone. A lot of these trucks will run a 2-piece splitter, and it looks like that's on the very bottom of the racetrack. There it is right there, Michael, just off the grass on the bottom of the racetrack. Just past the start-finish line.
That's not good.
They're going to push Nemechek to the garage, and the caution will come out because of that splitter for Nemechek.
All we can do before you hurt it is tighten the lug nuts up. We can't put tires on. We ain't got enough of them. So your call here.
That's Rudy Fugle, the crew chief for Kyle Busch.
He was leaving it up to Kyle to decide whether to come to pit road or not. They can tighten the lugs, Rudy said, but sometimes, Phil, you know, when that wheel vibrates, it'll oblong the holes in the wheel, and even if you do tighten it up, it'll work loose again.
And damage the studs as well.
Remember on that pit stop, I noted that it looked like they dropped the lug on that outside rear tire, maybe in the rush to get that on. Didn't get it tight, possibly. Let's take a look. We're going to look at Kyle's pit stop again. And
I talked about the choreography being off. And see, he stopped a little short, and it threw the jackman off, and things just didn't go well from there.
And when he pulled the right rear tire, it didn't come off. No. Smoothly as well.
I take that back. I don't think they did drop a lug. When he reached down there, they was picking up his gun. I thought that was picking up a lug that had come off, but I don't believe that was the case.
It looks like they felt like they got them all on there for sure, and tight. They have video that they can go back and look to see if it looks like there was any issues on the pit stop.
Communication with Rudy Fugle, the crew chief.
Tighten up all 4 guys, so hit them all.
So Kyle Busch is coming back to pit lane. Better safe than sorry this early in the race.
It's going to be fun for us to watch Kyle come mow back through the field.
Vince said better safe than sorry, and I was thinking better for us too, because we get to watch some thrilling passes and see if he can get back there. Johnny Sauter, Phil, the last couple of laps of that run was faster than Kyle Busch. I think that 13 truck has something for the 51.
So Kyle Busch is on pit lane with that vibration, maybe a loose wheel. They'll hit those lugs again, and Hermie Sadler will be there waiting on Kyle's arrival.
Yeah, Vince, he said he thinks the tire at issue is the left rear, but as you heard Rudy Siegel say, they will hit the lugs on all 4 tires on this 51. He also asked to be freed up a little bit. He thought the truck was too tight. You can see the adjustment there on the wedge on the right rear of the 51 truck, but they are taking their time, hitting all 4 lugs, topping off with fuel, also making an adjustment on the left side as well. He's down and pulling away. We'll see just how good now this 51 truck is in traffic.
Well, and if Kyle continues to feel that vibration, then it answers the question. It's not a loose wheel.
Got to make it, what, 14 laps when we go green, probably 12. So he can nurse it most likely that far, unless it was really severe, but they hadn't talked about coming to pit road prior to the caution.
Johnny Sauter inherits the lead in stage 2 for the Gander Outdoors Truck Series at Atlanta. About halfway through stage 2, the Gander Outdoors Truck Series from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Kyle Busch has been the dominant truck, but had to go to pit road for an unexpected stop, an unscheduled stop when he felt a vibration. To hit those lug nuts one extra time to make sure all the wheels got on tight. That put Johnny Sauter in the lead. And for more on Sauter, check in with Alan.
Yeah, Vince, he's happy right now. Remember, before the pit stops, he was asking to have his truck freed up. Well, he dialed back in after that restart, after he got going pretty good there on the track, and said, whatever you did, give me more on the next pit stop. He's running well right now, guys.
Yeah, Alan, his last couple of laps, he was faster than our leader, Kyle Busch. So this is going to be an interesting restart. Got the ThorSport teammates up on that front row. Grant Enfinger probably thinking about giving Johnny Sauter a nice push down toward turn 1.
We have 4 ThorSport trucks right now, Michael, in the top 5. Stuart Friesen, the only non-ThorSport truck in the top 5. You see him, that's the blue and white, number 52 in the second row.
Pace truck is off. Sauter inside and Crafton outside. Back racing here in stage 2.
Right side of your screen. Keep an eye on Kyle Busch as he tries to make his way back towards the front.
Jordan Anderson right in front of Kyle.
And the battle for the lead on the left side. Around goes Ben Rhodes. What a move.
Rhodes to the front with Enfinger and Sauter side by side for second. Crafton and Friesen side by side for third.
These truckers race, don't they, Phil?
They sure do.
Wow, this is great action.
Ben Rhodes fastest in final practice yesterday, and he is up on the wheel again this afternoon.
Here comes Crafton on the outside of Johnny Sauter. Johnny's going to duck in front of the 52 of Friesen, and Ross Chastain now jumps to the bottom of Friesen. That's Ross in the 45 truck.
ThorSport 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is a proud day for owners Duke and Rhonda Thorson, huh? Got those trucks running well this year.
Crafton in second, and that neon yellow 88. Enfinger and Sauter door to door for third. Sauter's going to get the spot and go immediately to work on Crafton.
Duke was really excited to get Johnny Sauter back home here. Had a lot of success with ThorSport before he went to GMS. And Johnny was pretty excited to get there too.
Look at Ross Chastain. He's breaking up that Ford party at the front, puts his Chevy into the 4th position.
Meanwhile, Kyle Busch back in the 13th spot. Rim riding. He's up top trying to go where no one else is.
I wouldn't want to get in his way up there in the top.
On board with Kyle.
Look, Timothy Peters, the experienced racer, he says, Kyle, you're not going to get me on the outside. I'm going to take your line through here. A little bit of speed there for Peters, too. Makes Busch look to the bottom.
Austin Hill right in front of Timothy Peters, the 16 truck, United Rentals on that truck this week.
Look how confident Peters is to run that high line. He's doing a nice job up there.
Back toward the front. Good battle. Harrison Burton in the 18, and that's the 98 of Enfinger getting around him for position. 5th spot.
How about Brett Moffitt all the way back up there? Remember, he had a pit penalty at the end of that stage Had to go to the back of the field for the restart. Made his way all the way back now up to the 7th spot.
And that turn showed me that he's got his truck handling well. He was able to really eat up that bottom and make some good ground.
Harrison Burton in that 18, Daytona was kind of a disaster for them. They started at the rear because of an engine issue, then had a flat tire, went a lap down, got a penalty for passing the pace vehicle. And they had all kind of problems, and then made it back up into the top 5 when they were involved in an accident late in the race. So it's a big bounce back week for Harrison Burton. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch continues to make his way toward the front, inside the top 10.
What's happened to Grant Enfinger? We talked about him up inside the top 5. Here's the battle for the lead.
Ben Rhodes has it. Johnny Sauter wants it.
I think if I'm Ben Rhodes' spotter or Johnny Sauter's spotter, said, you guys better go now because that 51 truck is coming.
That's a nice corner by Rhodes, but you can see Sauter's trying to find that grip on the top. Said he made an adjustment to his truck he liked, and he gave him permission to do it some more.
Give me some more of that.
Rhodes finished top 5.
A lane higher. Pushing up the track, he'll be 3, almost 4 back. He is 4 back, almost 5 now. Nice work.
And they're telling Ben Rhodes, you can hear a spotter, veteran TJ Majors, they were telling him to stick to the bottom, paint it. Johnny Sauter, meanwhile, says he wanted to be at the top because that's where you can pass trucks. We're going to see the 2 strategies converge here in a few minutes.
I was going to say Rhodes top 5 here in each of the last 2 years, and has really been knocking on the door, and he's up front again today. And how about Ross Chastain in that 45 truck? He is in 3rd, holding off Harrison Burton. And here comes Kyle Busch.
Here comes Kyle. Made his way up into the top 5. Going to try to grab
now coming outside.
4th and
now
3rd here.
Line with you, outside 45. Lap truck, all clear. Going to be.
Harrison Burton took over that 3rd spot in the 18 truck and is going to bring Kyle with him.
Ross had that awesome finish down in Daytona, got 3rd spot. You see he's running good again.
Remember, Kyle Busch restarted 24th after having to come to pit lane for that unscheduled stop. Now he is inside the top 5. This is for 3rd as he passes Harrison Burton.
About 14 laps to go for the end of the stage. So Kyle knows he can go up there. He can run the top and abuse those tires if he wants to, because he's getting ready to take those tires off in a little over 10 laps.
Saw the distance between Rhodes and Sauter and the 3rd place Kyle Busch. It's about a 1.5 seconds back from Sauter to Kyle.
That was a great turn there for Ben Rhodes. Good momentum off turn 4.
It looked like Johnny maybe lost the nose a little bit off the nose off of turn number 4. Ernie, how about Grant Enfinger?
Well, Phil, the issue they're struggling with right now is the result of the adjustments they made at the end of the last segment. His truck started off on the free side but got too tight, so they freed this 98 truck up. The problem is now he is too loose at the beginning of this run. It's coming to him now, Phil, but he's already dropped over 5 seconds to the leaders.
Give Jeff Hensley another opportunity to work on that truck at the end of this stage. I think the strategy's going to be about the same for everyone, Michael, don't you think? We're going to run to the end of this stage. We're going to put another set of tires on. That's going to leave each one of these teams with 1 set of tires in the pits. That's the question. If we get a caution 25 laps into that 3rd stage, do you put tires on? And everyone in the garage said if you don't put them on, you're going to get lapped. But if the caution comes out with 5 laps to go and you already put your last set on, somebody saved them, then you're going to get beat. So that's where these crew chiefs will really earn their money.
Vince, I think this is a great story. The 16 of Austin Hill. He won Daytona. People might think, he won Daytona. What's the rest of the year going to be like? And I guarantee you, maybe Austin Hill wondered that himself, because this is so different racing here at Atlanta. And it's also a track that is a lot like what they'll be faced with the majority of the rest of the year. Austin Hill has passed that test. He's got behind at the beginning of the race. He's been able to move through the field back inside the top 10. And I'm just impressed with the job he's doing. I think this is a sign that this team is going to be capable and ready to defend their championship.
And we talked about that at Daytona, Michael. You as a driver, you try to put yourself into the best possible position you can be. It was a championship team last year. Obviously, Austin was able to put the funding together to get with that team, and I think it's going to pay dividends. It already has, certainly last week, and I think it will the rest of the year.
How about this battle inside the top 10? We had Hermes report just a moment ago saying Infinger's truck, which at the start of this run was really loose, is coming to him, and we see it as he passes Matt Crafton for position, and that puts Infinger into the 8th spot with less than 10 to go here in stage 2.
Unfortunately, his teammate Crafton's going the other direction. That thing just doesn't have good long run speed in it, Phil. It looks like he's really good when they throw the green for a few laps, but then as soon as his tires wear out, he falls back.
And that's Sheldon Creed, the rookie. Last year's ARCA champ in the 2 truck, runs for GMS.
Having a solid run here, running in the 10th position. Has a little bit of a gap over Parker Kligerman. You see Parker, that's the hot truck, the black truck, the food country truck on the high side behind him.
And he's got Todd Gillen inside of him as they come off turn 4. Great shot there of these two battling for that position. And behind them, the likes of Stuart Friesen, Timothy Peters, Jesse Little. So Creed is doing a great job in his number 2 truck, as you said.
Remember, Friesen was one of the only trucks in the top 5 that wasn't a Thor Sport truck right after that last restart, and he's faded back to the 13th spot.
That's 11th and 12th. Gilliland in 11th, Kligerman in 12th. Back up to Matt Crafton, who's just inside the top 10, working on those stage points ahead of Sheldon Creed. Norm Benning in the 6 truck having some issues, and he is slowing on the backstretch.
Looks like he's got enough speed to make it to the pit, Vince, so I don't think this will necessitate a caution.
I can't tell. This fog is really bad. I can't see which one it is from here.
It's interesting to hear the spotters talk about the fog, and that's something that we saw in the Xfinity Series race. It's not gotten any better here in the Truck Series race, and certainly creating some challenges for the guys on the roof.
And NASCAR takes a look at that. They'll make sure they've got good visibility to both ends of the racetrack, and I think right now we're fine, but man, it is thickening up a little bit.
Yeah, the ceiling is definitely dropping out here.
Creed on the bottom, Crafton up top. How about Sheldon Creed, his first start here in Atlanta? Matt Crafton has started all 18 of the Truck Series races here in Atlanta.
Couldn't get much different than that, right, Vince? We talked about rookies and veterans at the start. We've had battles between both of them all day long.
Friesen working on Kligerman for 12th.
Vince, we're getting a report that the 50 truck is really loose right now. That's why he's faded from a top 5 spot, now battling with the 75 at Kligerman for the 12th spot.
Nice move to the bottom. If you're loose, you can run the bottom better than you can the top, I think. You just have to, like you said earlier, modulate that throttle, play with it a bit, as we see Austin Hill going down to the bottom to try to get around Ross Chastain for the 6th spot.
5 laps remaining. Now to 4 here in stage 2.
See the 33 truck, Josh Rayom, overheating. We saw some steam coming from the base of the windshield.
Kyle Busch, there's your leader. Or excuse me, Ben Rhodes.
Sure we could really move up and slow him down, Matt.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth putting making a huge fight, letting somebody else get to us. You know what I mean? Hate to say it, but he's just that good.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth moving, man. I don't. We're running a great race here so far.
I think that's a conversation between the spotter and the crew chief trying to make a decision of how hard they want to try to hold off Kyle Busch for this stage win. And you know, sometimes, Phil, a guy's just better than you are, and if you battle him long, it could bring other racers into that battle, and that's what the team's concerned about.
He's just going to move out of the way. He realizes that Kyle drove from the very back of the pack. Matt Noyce, the new crew chief over there at Thor Sport for Ben Rhodes, realizes that this says there's no sense trying to battle Kyle and let somebody else from behind us catch up to us and battle us. Let's just take what we got here, try to make our truck better at this end of the stage.
So that's losing the battle to win the war, right?
Yes, that's the intent anyway.
2 laps to go here in this stage, so the pits are closed. Kyle Busch, remember, restarted 24th after that unscheduled pit stop, and he is back to the front. Meanwhile, Infinger and Chastain side by side for 7th.
I think the track's come into Infinger a little bit. We got to report that it wasn't that good, but now he seems to be gaining on it, passing some more trucks.
Okay, that's a great point. Now what do we do when we come to pit road? We know the adjustment we made hurt us, but now we're really fast. How do you tell your crew chief what to do when that's the situation?
And we know we have to run a little farther. Remember, this last stage will be 10 laps farther than the first 2 stages.
The last lap of stage 2. Battling for position, Chastain and Infinger. Kyle Busch, who won stage 1, is about ready to put stage 2 in the books, and he does it back to back. Stage wins for Kyle Busch in the 51.
Chastain will hold off Infinger for the 7th spot.
And Sheldon Creed gets in to pick up that final stage point. Kyle Busch, a dominating performance in Atlanta. Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway, Gander Outdoors Truck Series. We heard the spotters talking just a little bit ago about the difficulty in seeing to the other side of the track because of the fog, and give you an indication of what they're seeing. Good thing that Ferris wheel's all lit up. We wouldn't be able to see it.
That's got to really disappoint you, Michael, for not to be able to see that Ferris wheel.
Well, I just like the lighting. The effect there is just amazing, and it's fun to see that kind of stuff here.
It's been fun to watch the driver of that 51 take that truck toward the front again. Remember, he restarted 24th. It took him about 20 laps to get back to the lead.
It was entertaining for us, Vince, but it wasn't very fun for those other competitors. Seeing him make those moves and drive by them like that, it's got to be disheartening to see somebody that much faster than you.
But doesn't always guarantee victory, especially here. In fact, we saw it with Kyle last year, right? He had, again, a very, very strong performance, but a late pit stop in the final laps. Was a miscue on pit road and cost him a chance to win the race. So you got to get it done right to the end. Here's a big pit stop. Allen's there.
And watch for more tape to go on the front of that 99 truck at the top of your screen. Ben Rhodes says they have to give him more front grip, making an air pressure adjustment and 4 tires for Ben Rhodes, Hermie.
Harrison Burton is too tight. They're going to try to fix it with air pressure. 4 tires and fuel for him. Kyle Busch, they reminded him to clean off his tires coming off the racetrack so he wouldn't slide through the pit, much like he did last time. 4 tires and fuel, right side air pressure adjustment, a round out of the right rear, and a little tape on the grill of the 51. Right sides are done, left sides are going up. 51 down and away.
Hermie, it's interesting you said that about cleaning his tires. I watched him really working his wheel back and forth coming to pit road, and then he revved up the motor and gassed it to spin those tires to make sure they was as clean as they could possibly be.
To get the rear tires cleaned off.
Great stop for Brett Moffitt's group, gaining 3 positions. Grant Infinger picks up 4.
Let's see if we can talk to our 2nd place stage finisher, Ben Rhodes. Hey, Ben Rhodes, Phil Parsons and the boys up in the Fox booth. You got a copy?
Other channel, Phil.
Thank you.
Running to the top now. You're talking about the seams, and I saw something I can work with there. I just got to make sure I don't just the seams like you said. So I'll keep that in my mind. Give you guys a good read on what the truck's doing here and get it adjusted once we have the next stop. Good talk, guys. Thank you.
Hey, Ben Rhodes, Phil Parsons and the boys up in the Fox booth. You got a copy?
I got you, Phil.
Nice job there in that stage with that 2nd place finish, but it sure looked like, and we heard your crew chief and spotter talking about how fast that 51 truck was. Can you make some changes? Did you make the right changes to run with that 51 truck?
Well, we made some small changes there to just help us wear a little bit better throughout the run. That 51, man, he's just so fast on the long runs. It's like he doesn't even fall off. So hopefully we made the right changes. I don't know. I can do a little bit more on moving around the track, too, to try to find some grip. But right now I'm just running that Harvick line.
Well, we appreciate you carrying that visor cam for us. And by the way, happy birthday, bud.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Ben Rhodes celebrated his 22nd birthday on Thursday. No room for error on pit road. Getting ready to go back racing in Atlanta. Pit stops complete. Take a look at those fastest pit stops presented by Xfinity. Not only does Kyle Busch have the fastest car, but he's the fastest truck, but he's the fastest on pit road as well.
It's a good pit work by Grant Enfinger's team as well, below 17 seconds. Brett Moffitt right now came out in the second spot. He will start outside Kyle on this restart, and Kyle will be on the inside. And those guys have both had trouble. Kyle a loose wheel, and Brett Moffitt a pit penalty.
It's about the only trouble Kyle's had because he has been bad fast. And remember, this could be a history-making day for Kyle Busch. If he wins today, he would break the tie with Ron Hornaday, and Kyle would become the winningest driver in Truck Series history.
That's an impressive record that he's put together, and no surprise he has those type of numbers, especially when you see the way he's performed today. Made that 6-truck pass from turn 1 to the back straightaway, and then rebounding from the back.
Not just does it as a driver, but as a team owner as well. A great organization, Kyle Busch Motorsports. Let's listen into some radio from the 51.
Front tire looks about the same. We had to blitz the top pretty hard there, but we got to go about 10 laps, 8 to 10 laps more than we did the first segment, so we'll just take care of it if we don't. We have one more set if we get a caution at some point, but we got to take care of these so they can make it to the end. 10-4, I felt it last 5 laps or so starting to shake.
That means he just went in places that he wouldn't go normally, running that high lane, really pushing his truck to get through the field. It tore up or burned up his right front tire, so they noted that, and he'll be more careful this run.
This restart to begin the third and final stage with Kyle Busch on the inside and Brett Moffitt on the outside. Let's go racing and crank it up. Brought to you by McDonald's. How about Johnny Sauter challenging Kyle Busch for the lead early in stage 3? Side by side, and Sauter edging ahead. Busch fighting back on the inside, but it's going to be Johnny Sauter closing the door.
What a great strong move by Johnny Sauter. He uses the middle of the racetrack to get by Kyle.
Crafton in third, Harrison Burton fourth, and that's Brett Moffitt going around the outside of Burton now for position, side by side.
Boy, it's really obvious how much the outside line really struggles on the restarts. Brett Moffitt really got beat bad on the outside, but it's just you spin the tires up there, there's not as much grip, Michael.
And I can't understand really the dynamic of this race for some trucks. We saw Stuart Friesen fall all the way outside the top 15. They come to pit road, off pit road. Now he's running in the 6th position, so there's a lot of comers and goers in this race. Guys, trucks that are fast for a few laps and really struggle after that.
Moffitt and Burton for fourth.
Feel like there's 4 fog setting in. Yeah.
Ross Chastain in that 45, making a move on the 24 of Moffitt. Chastain into 5th. Moffitt comes right back. Some great battles all over the racetrack today. Ben Rhodes, who's been out front for a portion of it, took a look inside of Chastain. Chastain closed the door. On board with Rhodes now.
Remember, we heard Rudy Fugle talk about managing your tires for this run. This is going to be about a 10-lap longer run than the first stage. Remember, the second stage or third stage or second stage, excuse me, doesn't restart till about 46, 47 laps in. So that stage is less laps by design. This one is going to be about 10 laps longer than the first stage, which was 40 laps.
That means the longest run on these tires, and if Kyle was feeling the right front going away during that last run, which was the shortest run on tires, could have real trouble here.
Boy, Alfredo had to gather that in as it's Alfredo in the 17, and he and Parker Kligerman were maybe trading a little paint. Kligerman in that 75, and here comes Grant Enfinger in the yellow 98. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch back to the front, passing Sauter for the lead.
There's a battle for the third position here. Harrison Burton, the 18 on the inside. Matt Crafton through the middle of the racetrack, the 88. Ooh, A little bit of a wiggle off the corner for Matt.
I think these drivers, Phil, right now are trying to balance how hard they're running because of the tire issue, and it's a great Goodyear tire. This track is just so abrasive, but then how dark it's getting. I mean, they have to consider that maybe NASCAR at some point would have to throw the caution, and that might lead to the end of the race. So every lap, you need to make sure you hold your position or gain.
Remember, all these teams have another set of tires on the ground in the pits if we would happen to get a caution. If we don't get a caution, they can go the distance on fuel, but boy, they're going to be begging for tires at some point.
What about it, Anthony Alfredo? We talked about him earlier. He slips up in front of, whoa, that was a close one. Todd Gillen right there, and there's Grant Enfinger. This is a great battle. Alfredo up in the 12th position. Good run for this young man.
Really done a nice job. This is his first ever start here in the Truck Series. Has K&N experience. He's won in the K&N Series. He's won in the Late Model Series. First start here for David Gilliland. All over the back of the 98 of Enfinger.
Todd Gilliland in that 4 truck. A little surprised he's not been up in the mix a little bit more, just inside the top 15 in that 4.
Yeah, and the 02 of Tyler Dipple gets to the inside there. Timothy Peters, though, is going to push Gilliland back around Dipple. Great racing back in the field.
These guys are racing right around the 14th, 15th, 16th position. There's Jesse Little. We haven't seen Jesse much this race, but still solidly in this field.
Is there a hole there? Oh, no.
Almost.
There might have been for a second. We're used to seeing Jesse run up inside the top 10 when he makes some of his starts. He doesn't run all the races, and a little bit off the pace here at Atlanta, but still in contention for a top 10.
New crew chief for Jesse this year, J.R. Norris, has come over to Jesse's team to be the crew chief. Matt Noyce was Jesse's crew chief last year. He's gone over to Thorsport, as we were talking about a few moments ago, and has been Rhodes crew chief.
For third, Matt Crafton has it. Harrison Burton wants it. First time Burton has raced here at Atlanta. As mentioned, he did run a couple of 1.5 miles after turning 18 last season, but he has not raced here at Atlanta before. And a problem for Stuart Friesen.
It's like a flat right tire.
Was running in the 10th spot. Tough break for Friesen. Has to come to pit road.
He's made some contact, probably with the wall, hasn't he, Hermie?
And actually, that's the second time today the 52 Phil has made contact with the wall. You can see the damage on and around the right front of that truck. Tough break for those guys. They were fighting a little bit of a free condition with this 52. Never could get the balance exactly right. And this green flag pit stop is going to take them out of contention for the win. They've really struggled with this truck for the most of the day.
Finished 6th here a year ago and had high hopes for another solid run today, but this unscheduled stop's going to be costly.
He can just hope that a caution doesn't catch him. Stay on the gas and make up a lot of ground with these new tires he's going to have. This has been fun, Phil. Look who's keeping pace. Johnny Sauter, Matt Crafton, and Harrison Burton are all keeping Kyle Busch within their sights.
Absolutely. We need to see how this race plays out. Again, if the caution were to come out anytime now, the crew chiefs have a decision to make. Do we put tires on now? If we don't put tires on now, the guys that do are just going to drive away from us, even with just these few laps, about 15 laps on these tires.
Well, if you do get a caution, you almost have to come, don't you? I mean, you can't.
No, you don't have to come.
You don't have to.
You might need to save them.
You know, but if you don't get another caution, then you've got your set sitting on the ground and a driver that's really unhappy.
But what I'm thinking, Vince, is Kyle Busch is a dominant truck. If he comes to pit road and gets his tires right now, I'm going to stay out. And I'm going to say, I got to beat him somehow. We got to use strategy to do so. And vice versa. If he pits, either way, I'm going to do the opposite that he does.
Crafton and Burton continue their battle. Boy, this has been a slugfest all day long between these two.
From the first lap, right?
Yep.
They've been side by side and racing hard.
Kyle less than a second advantage.
Guys,
over
take a look at this. We were talking about wrapping the bottom, Michael. Watch how long Kyle stays on that yellow line. And watch Johnny. See how about 10 truck lengths behind Kyle, he starts coming up off the bottom, and he lost a lot of ground on that lap. Kyle Busch is able to keep that truck down longer, and that's showing up in lap time.
And that's the Kevin Harvick line that you've made famous around here in NASCAR.
Well, Kevin actually made it famous. I didn't do it. Had anything to do with it.
Less than 30 to go. Kyle Busch continues to lead. You're not going to miss a thing. Going to keep on trucking from Atlanta.
right up behind the truck.
It's been a fun doubleheader today, but tomorrow the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series rolls out, and Chase Elliott will have a lot of fans in the stands rooting for him, the hometown hero. Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, they'll all have a little something to say about it. Kyle has been so good here in the truck this afternoon. Had to go to the backup car in the Cup side of the garage earlier today. Nice battle for third between Harrison Burton and Matt Crafton. These two are going to be tired of looking at each other by the time this is all said and done today. They have been side by side much of the afternoon.
Ben Rhodes is looking ahead at this battle thinking, y'all keep it side by side. I'm going to come swipe both those spots.
Is it frustrating when you're racing around a guy all day long and you just can't seem to get rid of him?
Well, I think not really, Vince. You know, you're running in the top three. Of course, it's going to be hard to hold those positions. But I'm impressed with Crafton. He fell back on the long run earlier. He gave the right information to Crew Chief Junior Joyner that allowed them to adjust that truck, and now it's got staying power. I'm impressed by that.
I am too. But what a solid day, though, by Harrison Burton, running up in the top 5 most of the day. Right now, currently running 4th.
His teammate Todd Gilliland there in that 4 truck did have a big tear off on the front of his radiator, but that has since come off. He did a nice job getting up behind the back of another truck, and the air took that tear off away.
That battle has been decided for the time being. Matt Crafton ahead of Burton.
I think we're in the window right now with 21 laps to go. If the caution were to come out, I think we see everybody come to pit road unless somebody really wants to gamble and stay out.
Gander Outdoors, 20 to go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Kyle Busch out front by just over 2 seconds.
And if you take a gander outdoors, you can see that the weather is treacherous. Clouds are rolling in, a little bit of mist in the air, but these truckers just keep on trucking.
Well, and whether or not we get a caution, that could be a difference maker. Matt Crafton and company talking about the tire wear of the 51 truck of Kyle Busch.
Is the 51 out of tires since you fitted that extra time, or no?
No, he just had a loose wheel, so he just tightened it.
Well, I didn't think the tires, but man, he drove through them like he did.
Yeah, I think he was just bored.
Well, that was Junior Joyner.
That was a compliment, by the way.
Oh, yeah. He was cheering Matt Crafton along there until.
Yeah. Say, no, unfortunately, those were the same tires. Yeah.
On board with Ben Rhodes.
Caution is out.
Caution is out. Turn 4, one going through the grass. And it's Natalie Decker again, really about the same spot. I think those tire tracks just ahead of her are where she came through the grass the first time earlier today.
I think everyone comes to pit road, don't you, Michael? There's no way with 30 laps on these tires that they're going to stay on the racetrack. I don't think anyone even gambles. I'm not even sure 2 tires is a good gamble here with this many laps to go.
You can't do that. You either got to be all in or out and stay out on the track and hope there's a later caution so you can have better tires. If I'm not going to win this race and I'm running 10th or 12th, I might just give that a try.
If I'm Jesse Little right now running in the 16th spot, Brennan Poole running 17th, maybe even Tyler Dipple running in the 15th spot, maybe think about that. But I think the guys right now contending for the win are all going to come to pit road for 4 tires.
And contending for a championship.
Yes.
They can't afford to take that kind of gamble and not have.
Well, there's Natalie Decker. It's almost tough to tell through the wet lens. That's all the moisture that's on the track. And Natalie Decker and Jinjo Kopp maybe got together just a little bit, and it put Natalie Decker through the infield.
I think Natalie just lost it. Jen did a nice job of avoiding her, diving down on pit road to avoid running into her. So nice job by Jinjo.
Yeah, the truck looks pretty clean.
Got that 6th place finish down at Daytona back in 2011. What I tell you about this girl is when it's time to qualify and she's got to pick up some speed, she does it every time. And
time again, we've seen her do that.
How about all the debris, the grass off the front of that 54 truck around for the 2nd time today?
And one good thing, Vince, about this ride for Natalie Decker, think about it. At Daytona, she didn't get any experience. She ran one lap and her tire blew and she's out of the race. I know she's had a couple of spins, but she's been competitive. She's run with some good trucks, and she's been able to learn. This is what's so important. Get those laps under her belt so that she can figure out exactly what the truck needs, handling-wise, to be successful.
Corbin Forrester gets the free pass. Get back on the lead lap.
Pit road right now is still being shown as closed, but I would think it would probably reopen here by the time the field gets it back around to turn number 4.
We talk about mistakes on pit lane, and this is a time when you want to make sure you do not have a miscue on pit road. No penalties, no loose wheels, no bad stops, especially if you're somebody up toward the front hoping for a chance to win this race. Remember, a year ago it was on the final pit stop that Kyle Busch's team had a problem and did not get the left rear on and on tight, and it came off, and that cost Kyle a shot at the win. Everybody wants to make sure they're buttoned up here. Alan.
And Johnny Sauter at the top of your screen says he lost all front grip again. Expect an adjustment there. Also wants a tear off. You can see coming off. In the middle of your screen, Matt Crafton in the 88 getting 4 new tires says he's just a little tight in the center. They're all trying to catch Kyle Busch, Hermie.
Rudy asked Kyle if he needed to be tightened up any so he could hustle the truck on this short run. He said no. 4 tires in fuel. They are raising the air pressure a little bit to get him going on a short run.
So far, that stop on the 51, very clean. No issues from the 13 and the 88. Crafton is going to have a shot at getting Kyle. Nope, Kyle's going to get out just ahead of him. Crafton picks up 1 spot.
I like Sauter starting on that inside line.
How about Enfinger and Todd Gillen, the big winners, 4 and 5 positions.
So Kyle Busch avoids that disastrous stop that he had a year ago, and will once again be at the front for this restart. How about the 88, Alan?
88, Matt Crafton complained of a wicked vibration after that. They think he's going to come back in. They think a left front may be loose or not all the lug nuts are tight. He is coming back in the pits late in this race.
Vince, you just said it. You cannot overcome a penalty like this. He might have a shot to get back to the top 10, possibly, but you cannot overcome a penalty like this late.
And we talked about the amazing stops all day long for the Thor Sport gang. But when it mattered the most, they had one get away from them.
Yeah, more of a mistake certainly than a penalty. So
Sheldon Creed and Jordan Anderson caught speeding on pit road.
Matt did a nice job of taking it easy around there to make sure that tire didn't fall off. We saw what happened to Kyle Busch last year when the tire fell off his truck.
It's Crew Chief Junior Joyner, you can see setting down there with just behind the crew guy.
So disappointing for this group. It has been a real strong run for Matt Crafton today. Crafton has spent almost the entire day inside the top 5 and often inside the top 3.
Yeah, they're not going to get the finish today that they deserve, but I think there's cause for optimism at Thor Sport, especially in that 88 camp, don't you guys?
Last year here, Kyle Busch driving the 4 truck, and that's what happened. Remember, they came in for 4, but they had a problem on the right side, and the changer had gone over to the left rear and taken the lug nuts off, anticipating it was going to be a 4-tire stop, and they instead changed their mind. Kyle took off, and that left rear came off there.
It was taking so much time, they felt like they needed to minimize the time on pit road. They made an audible, changed it to 2 tires, but the lug nuts were already off the left rear.
Well, there's the scoreboard as far as all-time wins here in the Truck Series. Kyle Busch and the Hall of Famer Ron Hornaday tied with 51 apiece. Kyle looking to make history with a win here today. Some pretty good wheelmen on that list.
You got that right. Those are some tough truckers right there.
How about our broadcast partner Todd Bodine back there with 22 wins, 2 championships for Todd.
Less than 15 to go here, but remember, next Friday night we'll be under the lights in Las Vegas.
I'm telling you guys, one of the best races I've ever seen in this truck series was this race at Las Vegas last year.
Just incredible competition and action. 3-wide racing, side by side all night long. What a great show that was.
Looking forward to it. 9 o'clock Eastern, Friday night, the Gander Outdoors Truck Series from Las Vegas. Johnny Sauter has shown speed. If there's been anybody that's shown the speed to stay up with Kyle Busch at times tonight, it's been Johnny Sauter.
Remember, after that last restart, he drove up there and passed Kyle and led for a few laps. So Johnny being shown leading 9 laps this race.
Tough for Sauter, though, with the restart on the outside lane. That inside is definitely the preferred line.
And Kyle Busch is one of the best restarters we've ever had in our sport, and he has the preferred line.
Pace truck will roll off. When they take the green flag, there will be 13 to go as Kyle Busch chases history in the Truck Series. Got his teammate Harrison Burton right behind him. Contact, and it looked like Jesse Little into the wall and collects several. Parker Kligerman involved, Spencer Boyd in the mix, Austin Wayne Self in the 22.
We talk about it all the time, guys, how the intensity ratchets up. And we know how difficult the restarts here are at Atlanta. And they just get to pushing and shoving. The further they go, the harder they hit.
There's Chad Finley. Chad had gotten back on the lead lap, was in contention for a good finish. A lot of damage to Austin Wayne Self's truck. Looks like the splitter may be gone on his truck as well.
Like it started right there with that truck. Jesse Little.
That's the first truck I saw sideways. Now, there certainly may have been contact that caused that.
Kyle Busch is slow in the field, coming to a stop there. I don't think they want to run their tires through all that debris. Flat tire right now would finish you off.
We saw it when it happened. Stuart Friesen had a huge piece, probably a splitter that he had to avoid, that he went around the outside of.
A lot of cleanup to be done here as you see the Austin Wayne Self machine and that splitter ripped off. Boy, it gets in that grass and it tears it up in a hurry.
I think we need to take a look at taking the splitters off these trucks and maybe going back to a plastic balance.
Let's take a look. Watch the 97, the black and green truck. Jesse Little spun the tires, gets a big bump from Parker Kligerman, and then it begins.
Boy, Sheldon Creed did an amazing job in that 2 truck avoiding this incident.
So did the 52. Watch Stuart Friesen.
Wow. Watch Sheldon Creed come right through the middle of that white hood on that number 2 truck.
Timothy Peters also avoided it, and there you see Friesen slipping through.
Friesen maybe ran over part of that splitter, the debris on the track, but got through it relatively unscathed.
You see the splitter, he did hit that splitter, Vince, you are exactly right.
Looks wild, doesn't it, with the fog and all those emergency vehicles lights. See the trucks are stopped just short of the start-finish line.
Listen to the radio of Parker Kligerman.
It might be a little my fault. I mean, it wasn't my fault. He didn't go. I thought he had it gathered. Then he checked up again.
Owning up, but I really don't think he had anywhere to go.
Owning up and then blaming the other guy for it.
He said he just didn't really go. It was my fault, but he didn't go. Yeah, I think it was trying to help him get going in all seriousness. There's no way it was Parker trying to spin him out or knock him out of the way. He was trying to help him get going.
But in Parker's defense, when the truck in front of you doesn't go, what do you do?
Right. You have to.
I mean, at that point, can you even get on the brakes enough to keep from running into the back end when you're trying to get your restart?
You anticipate, Vince, that he's going to eventually get going, so you just want to give him a little bit of help, give him a little bit of push, and that push was a little bit too much.
We'll check in back downstairs with Hermie.
Got Marcus Richmond, the crew chief for Todd Gitterling. Now, you guys have been working on your truck pretty much all day. How is your truck handling wise? And you guys got some kind of issue under the hood. What is it?
I think the issue under the hood will be fine. It's just holding a little RPMs under caution. But our Mobile 1 Tundra has been pretty good all night. It's just we can't fire on restarts, and we lose 7 positions, and then we have to try to get them back, and it's just hard to pass. So once we get going, the truck is pretty good. So I'm glad we got a restart on it, and maybe that helps with tires. Maybe we can give them a run for money right here.
These guys in the top 10 looking for a little bit more down the stretch.
Yeah, that's great information. Good job down there, Hermie, because we had just talked a little while ago about surprise that we've not seen Todd Gilliland up toward the front a little bit more, and crew chief Marcus Richmond telling us exactly why, the amount of spots that they're losing on restarts. So now Todd's in a pretty solid spot of 7th. We'll see whether or not Marcus Richmond does have that Toyota tuned up.
And more importantly, on the inside line too, if he restarts in the 7th position.
The different vehicles involved in this incident, and you see the list, and it's starting to get a little more moist here. In fact, we might shift from moist to wet.
Yeah,
because that looks a little heavier than a drizzle.
I think maybe heavier than it's been all day. It's been misting since 7:30 this morning, but that looks to be a little heavier than we've seen today.
I think so. These drivers, especially the ones up front, are saying maybe that's a little bit too much.
Well, Kyle's saying that anyway.
Check out that 6 through 10. I love our truckers. We talked about Austin Hill, the challenges it would be for him to come to Atlanta and perform at the level that he did at Daytona. Check that box, he did it. Todd Gilliland's been behind all day long because of issues under the hood. He's up inside the top 10. Ross Chastain always overachieves any equipment that he's in. He's up there. Brett Moffitt, after those problems on pit road, he's up in the top 10. And Anthony Alfredo, a guy we haven't seen before in the truck series, and that 17 truck has just done an amazing job. That's what you want to see. You put a guy in a truck and he drives it to the top 10 at a tough place like here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. This team's got to be very proud of that young man and his effort.
As Alan Cavana dubbed him, the sauce.
Uh-oh.
Pretty sporty. Yeah, a little yard work to be done. Gotta hire that guy. Coming back. Still under red flag here with 13 to go. The Gander Outdoors Truck Series, after a multi-vehicle incident, began when Parker Clearman got into the back end of Jesse Little. A look inside the workspace of Kyle Busch, who is trying to make history here this evening by winning in the Truck Series for the 52nd time, currently tied with Hall of Famer Ron Hornaday for most wins all time in the series.
You got to keep an eye on him. You see his eyes are open and make sure he doesn't nod off here, because remember Denny Hamlin said that he fell asleep on a couple of the red flags last week in Daytona before winning the Daytona 500 for the 2nd time.
You know, guys, the precip looks like it's getting heavier through some of our cameras, but right there's no moisture on that camera lens. That's the roof cam from Kyle's truck, and I think we're still going to go racing. It's crazy that
I don't see a lot on the windshield either from the visor cam.
Look at that.
Boy, it looks like it's coming down.
Maybe it's not hitting the ground.
The trucks have just refired. Joe Shear is the crew chief for Johnny Sauter. He's with Alan.
Yeah, and hoping to get this truck race started as soon as possible. Johnny will start on the inside. How important will that be?
That's really important here. For some reason, the top groover here doesn't have no grip. I mean, it's been like that for years, but that was a blessing for us. I think we got a good short run truck here. Just cold weather's really pulled a lot of stuff on us. It's not like the normal Atlanta here, but we've been freeing it up, and I think we got something for Kyle.
All right, let's see if they can do it, guys.
I love that optimism.
Indeed. How about radio communication from the 99 of Ben Rhodes?
Yeah, I really don't think we go that green. We'll see. I got landscaping down here in turn 1. This is some pretty funny stuff right here. Do y'all not see it in the lights flowing like snow? Oh yeah. Oh, I see it. It's bad. Like I said, our monitors are they're glazed over with water. Yeah, I'm standing in it.
I think we all agree there's precipitation falling from the sky.
Yeah.
Now if we can just figure out if we're going to get to go see some more truck racing, because I love what Joe Shear Jr. said about that 13 truck. We got short run speed. We think we've got something for Kyle Busch, and he's going to line up right behind Busch on this restart.
I like to see that the trucks are moving. That's a good sign. Boy, I'd love to be able to get in these final 13 laps.
Maybe that moisture we saw in front of the lights was the same thing we've had all day, but we never had lights on before. It was daylight.
So we felt it and just not seen it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
It has been a wintry day here in Atlanta, that's for sure. It has been, seems like a mist all day long. Got the Xfinity race in earlier today. If you're just joining us, Christopher Bell in dominating fashion took that to victory lane. And right now, Kyle Busch trying to put an end to the day by wheeling the 51 to victory. A record-setting victory it would be for Kyle.
The 51 to his 52nd win.
Billy Baloo Motorsports on board with Kyle this week, and you know, Kyle has noted that would be special for him since he drove for Billy Baloo. The first 16 races, first 16 wins of his Truck Series career came under the Billy Baloo flag, and it would be special if he could take that sponsorship to victory lane along with him tonight.
And Billy's from here in Atlanta, so home game for Billy. It was truly one of the characters around this series for a long time.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Well, when we get finished here, we'll take you to live action from the NHRA, and let's get an update on what's happening. You saw those folks out even in Arizona, they had on coats. Some crazy weather across the United States. Well, that's a great sign. The trucks are rolling. Fans withstanding the elements. But what a great day to come to the racetrack and see two races. Great to have the doubleheader here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's supposed to be much better weather tomorrow.
Yeah,
so
sunshine,
looking forward to that.
60 degrees, and Vince, it's the most eagerly anticipated race to me in a long time. They have different rules. They're going to be side by side and drafting here at Atlanta. And just think about qualifying for the Monster Energy Cup Series yesterday. On the pole, Eric Almirola hadn't had only one in his whole career. Beside him, Ricky Stenhouse, a guy who has been struggling of late, but now he's finding himself right up front. And then Clint Boyer, he's only had one pole ever. So we got some good stories already. I can't wait till tomorrow.
And this is the racetrack these guys love to race at. With this surface, we talk about it, and again, that's not a negative when we talk about how abrasive this surface is, how much fall off there is in tire wear. That's not a negative. That's a positive.
Well, you see the fans bundled up and just getting word from the caution truck that they don't feel like the track is yet ready to go. Still maybe a little too damp from the precipitation.
Getting those trucks out there, though, Vince, will run a little bit of that off. The tires will obviously heat up the track a bit, and the engines as well. So hopefully we can get this track into a raceable condition.
Yeah, we've come through all of this today. Gotten to this point, we certainly want to take it to the finish.
We've been through so much.
Well, it's been a great day for Harrison Burton. Let's check in with his crew chief. He's with Hermie.
Yeah, Mike Hillman Jr. is the crew chief. You guys have battled all day long to get your truck in this position. You got a shot at the front row, but are you concerned about the conditions? What's your driver telling you?
It's the wettest it's been all day, Hermie. So all I can say is that Harrison's done a heck of a job with this Safe Light Tundra all day long. You know, it's only his third mile and a half, and to run in the top 5 with these guys and battle with Kyle and everybody else. But, you know, if they cancel this thing right now and KBM takes a 1-2 home and Kyle wins, I'll be happy with that, and we'll go on to Vegas.
Yeah, these guys really have fought track position. They fought the truck on both sides of the tight and loose balance, and right now, here in the final stages, they have a shot to pull this thing off.
18-year-old Harrison Burton. NASCAR fans, you are going to hear that name for many, many years to come.
Remember, he's already a winner this year, won in the ARCA Menard Series at Daytona.
The 3 trucks for Kyle Busch Motorsports, Kyle, Harrison Burton, and Todd Gilliland running today. And you look at, I mean, you know, it's just been 10 races since they won last. For you know, a lot of teams, they don't even bat their eye at that. But that's a drought for KBM.
I think for Rudy Fugle, that's an eternity. 10 races.
There you saw this 4 truck of Todd Gilliland. He's been able to battle up into the 7th position despite some issues today.
That last win, by the way, Pocono of July of last year, was with Kyle Busch.
Win number 51, right?
Yep. Kyle won 2 of the 5 starts last season, and he will make 5 starts as he is allowed here in the Truck Series this year, including next week at his hometown of Las Vegas. Also run at Martinsville, Texas, and Charlotte. So they're going to get the trucks to fan out a little bit, cover a little bit more of the track, and try to dry the surface. Do that for a lap or 2, and while they do that, we're going to take a break and come back and hopefully bring you the finish here in Atlanta. Trucks have been brought to pit lane. The red flag is out because of precipitation. The rain has gotten a little heavier here with just 9 laps to go, and they lost the track, so they brought the trucks down pit lane and have parked them. Kyle Busch is your leader. That's his crew chief, Rudy Fugle. And I know they take the win, but you know these guys would like to take those checkered flags while under green flag racing, especially considering it would be the record-breaking win for Kyle.
I think Kyle's enough of a racer. He'd love to finish this thing.
Yep.
If it happens this way, fine. But I think he would love to finish it.
If at all possible, let's race to the checkered. That's what you're thinking right now. But tomorrow it'll still count.
Yeah.
So
still going to be 52.
That's right. Raining on his parade a little bit.
You see the jet dryers out, and well, they've turned the most laps today. The jet dryers have been out since early this morning. Xfinity and Truck Series qualifying both canceled earlier today.
And you just really got to appreciate the effort NASCAR puts in. That track drying team, they were on the track, like you said, all day long, and finally got it dry enough for the Monster Energy stars to get out there and make some laps. Going to get both races in, hopefully this one to the completion.
Well, Michael, the good news is we can see the Ferris wheel better now than we could earlier. So.
I'm an eternal optimist, Phil.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But I think it's lifting.
Look at that. Look at that. Look how much better we can see the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, but it's not as foggy, but it's raining harder.
Well,
I would have taken the fog, at least for another 9 laps.
Vince, good point. Good point there.
But that's not
Michael and his Ferris wheel fixation can get you can get over that later.
Yeah, we got to be a little more positive than that, Vince.
It is pretty though, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Vince.
Still under red, hoping to go back to green to finish it up. And you see the precipitation falling. Man, it almost looks like snow out there tonight. And Donnie Russell out there working hard. Tell you what, those guys are crew members that have to be out in the elements.
Is that Pony on number 14 there, Vince?
All day long, yep.
We got a Pony.
Donnie Fenwick out there. Give us a wave, Donnie. There you go.
Do we have a turtle somewhere?
And you see the precipitation on the robotic camera. Kyle Busch's crew chief, Rudy Fugle, is with Hermie.
Been here a long time and not sure we know exactly what's going to happen down the stretch, but you guys have put on a great show today, front to the back, back to the front. Before we turn into meteorologists, how about your day on top of the pit box with your team?
It's always exciting with Kyle Busch driving. You know, it's you never know what's going to happen, but he's done a great job. All these KBM guys, the shop here, everybody at Jerry Painter's bunch of building bodies, and it's a fast race truck. So TRD, Cessna, and I hope we can get the win. Whether we go racing or not, I don't really care. I've never won a rating race before, but let's do it. You know, let's get this victory over.
What's Kyle saying from inside the truck?
He says it looks like a snowstorm looking into the lights, you know, off in the distance, and obviously he can't see anything, and doesn't seem to be getting any better. But we don't care how we do it, you know, whether we earn it or, you know, I think we've earned it either way. But whether we run the last 9 laps or we call it here, let's win this thing.
I think Kyle is calling you on the radio, so put your headset back on before I get you fired.
He wants to know what's going on. Make a decision. Somebody let us know. You see Rudy's been incredibly successful, and whether it's winning owners championships or guiding Christopher Bell and Eric Jones to drivers titles, It has been a great run for Rudy Siegel at Kyle Busch Motorsports, and you see with his 22 wins where he ranks on the all-time list.
I think it's safe to say that they earned this one, whether they get it early or late.
Kind of watching the weather. 9 to go. Maybe we'll have an answer when we come back. Under red, and you see just 9 laps remaining here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the Gander Outdoors Truck Series. Precipitation continues to fall. It seems like maybe it has lightened up a little bit, but certainly the track surface is damp, and if we don't go back to racing, Harrison Burton will be runner-up. He sits in the 2nd spot. Phil, you want to ring him up?
Ask him if the ceiling's lifting, Phil, if you could tell.
Sure. Hey, Harrison Burton, Phil Parsons and the boys up in the Fox booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Well, Michael wants to know if the ceiling is lifting any, Harrison, or does it still look pretty wet out there?
I don't know. To be honest with you, it's hard to tell inside these race trucks, but for me, it looks pretty wet, but it's been wet all day, and we've been racing through it, so I'm good either way. I want to race and try and beat the boss man in this finish.
You've done a great job all day racing up around the top 5 most of the day. And if we do go back to racing, you got a plan to beat Boss Man? You know, he's going for a record 52. You're going for number 1.
Yeah, I got a plan kind of formulated in my head. That's the good thing about red flags is I can sit here and think about it. But the crazy thing about racing is as soon as you try and make a plan and then stick to it, everything goes the opposite way that you thought it was. So just got to be reactionary and adaptive and see what happens.
You don't think he'll give you the inside on the restart, do you, if you get to go again?
I know that I sure wouldn't give him the inside, so I don't think he'll give me the inside.
All right, buddy, you've done a great job. Either way, whether we call it early and you finish 2nd or finish it out, great job, bud.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
It has indeed been an impressive run for Harrison Burton. It doesn't hurt to ask, though.
No,
yeah, I mean,
that's right.
Yeah.
But don't you love the fact that we can go right down inside that vehicle and see what that young man's thinking as the rain has lightened a bit, I think, and it looks like maybe that caution truck's heading back up front to take them back onto the track.
Well, at the beginning of the race, Austin Hill started from the pole, and you see just did not get going. Spun the tires. Brett Moffitt got into the back end, and that opened up the door for Matt Crafton and company. And then Kyle Busch, he quickly went to the front.
He did it fast. He didn't do it that fast. We kind of sped it up a little bit.
Are you sure we sped that video? Because it looked like he would. There was Natalie Decker bringing out the caution, and in fact, has done that a couple of times today in very similar styles.
Your right front tire down. Oh, that's Joe Nemechek that goes through the grass, got a little bit loose up off of turn number 4. Knocked a splitter and the radiator out from under that truck.
That could liable have totaled that truck. That was a lot of contact, but what a great move late by Johnny Sauter. He went around the outside of Kyle Busch and took the lead.
Just after a restart, I think that's the only truck that's passed Kyle Busch today.
And then bringing out the caution after the restart, Jesse Little didn't get going, and Parker Kligerman hit him in the back end, and that started this mess. And while they were repairing all the damage and creating opportunity for the cleanup crews, the rain started to fall, and the trucks rolled around for a few laps, and then they have been brought to pit road under red with just 9 laps remaining. You know, I got to shout out to Anthony Alfredo as well in that 10th spot, his first career start, running for Gilliland and Crosley today. He's done a really nice job, and an opportunity for him to finish top 10 would be quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, and how about the track officials as well as the NASCAR officials? But it would have been awfully easy when they brought these trucks to pit road to say, okay, guys, we tried. It's track's too wet. We're going to call it. But they're working diligently on trying to get this track dried to give these fans that have braved this similar kind of weather from early this morning a chance to see the finish.
Track drying efforts continue. Keeping our fingers crossed. It seems like the precipitation has lightened up a bit. We'll update it when we come back to Atlanta. Ye of little faith. You didn't think we were going to do it, did you?
I did. I told you the ceiling was lifting.
I told you could see the Ferris wheel,
and you said it's raining.
Got a couple of meteorological experts up here with me, and
Look at that.
Oh,
Look at that.
What a beautiful
Clear as a
sight.
bell.
I wish I was over there riding that.
Well, you could go if you'd like. How about Ross Chastain? He's going to make a run at it here, sitting in the 8th spot, Mike.
Hey, Ross, it's Mike, Phil, and Vince up in the Fox booth. Do you copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm telling you, I didn't know we'd be doing this, but it looks like we're going back racing. How's the track look to you?
Looks good. Foggy. Welcome to Atlanta in February.
Well, you were impressive in Daytona in February. Completed every lap, top 10 finish in the Daytona 500. Have a great race the rest of the way and do something fun for us to watch.
All right, we'll try. Yeah, how about that? Me and you getting Jay Robinson as top 10s in the Daytona 500. It means a lot to me, Michael, to do that like you did it. Yeah, we'll try to get this True North Chevy a couple spots better.
Well, it's a good-looking ride you got there. Finish her off. We'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks.
They'll come by and get one to go this time around.
What do you think Harrison has up his sleeve as an 18-year-old with a plan?
I think he's just got to, what's an 18-year-old want to do, Phil? He wants to just gun it, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's got to make sure he just squeezes that throttle down no matter how bad he wants to go, because we haven't been able to see anyone get any traction on that outside lane. So he's going to have to be cool and try to just get the gas down and get that truck rolling without spinning his tires.
Well, after just under 17 minutes of red flag conditions, they'll come by and they'll get one to go this time around. And it'll be a 5-lap shootout to the finish.
See Ben Rhodes up at the top of the racetrack, want to make sure it's dry. Where's he going to go, you think? To the top.
And what about Kyle Busch? He elected to take the bottom. Are you surprised at all, Phil?
That doesn't surprise Harrison Burton, I don't think, does it?
The bottom is the catbird seat. He is sitting there and ready to pounce.
Well, and if you're Harrison Burton, you got to make sure that you don't lose a bunch of spots on this restart, as we've seen. Certainly he's hoping to win or finish second, but Johnny Sauter, we heard his crew chief Joe Scheer earlier mention they thought they had something for Kyle on the short run in particular.
And you remember how this race was won a year ago, right? The guy who restarted in the 3rd position, dove to the bottom, right where Johnny Sauter's sitting, made the pass, Brett Moffitt did, and drove to victory lane. So don't count Johnny Sauter out. He'll be another good guy to watch. If he's able to get down to the inside of Kyle at all, we've seen Johnny Sauter have the short run speed to win this thing.
This may be full contact racing here on this restart.
I love Harrison Burton's attitude. He said, let's go. I came here to race. He's not in a great position, but that's why we race. If we knew what was going to happen, we wouldn't be doing this.
Next to Sauter in that 13 truck is his teammate at ThorSport, Ben Rhodes, in the 99. And in row 3, it's Austin Hill on the outside and Grant Enfinger on the inside.
Guys, I think we better tighten these belts one time here, because it could get interesting right here.
Yeah, this is fun. I can't wait to see how these guys operate.
The pace truck will come off and we will go green. And when they take the green flag, there will be 5 laps remaining. Kyle Busch chasing history on the inside. His 18-year-old teammate Harrison Burton on the outside. Johnny Sauter right behind Kyle. Ben Rhodes behind Burton, and we're green and racing. 5 left at Atlanta.
Tough to go from the outside for Harrison.
Sauter stays in the tracks of Kyle Busch. Enfinger in 3rd. Moffitt and Gilliland 4th and 5th. But it's going to be Kyle Busch coming to the line with 4 laps remaining. Johnny Sauter continues the chase.
How about that battle for the 5th position? They were 3 wide for a moment.
Todd Gilliland swings around the outside. How bad does Johnny Sauter want to get up there and do away with Kyle Busch and win this race? He's able to hang right there with him.
Johnny has 23 career wins. Only 6 of those have come when Kyle Busch was in the field.
Kyle Busch coming around, and he will take.
What about ThorSport?
Continue the lead with 3 laps remaining.
They're starting this 2019 season with authority, aren't they? 3 of their trucks up in the top 5. Look at this battle. Ross Chastain, I told him to do something cool. He's going 3 wide.
Gilliland in that 4 truck sits 6th. Chastain challenging.
Ross is going to go around the outside. Looks like he's pulling up even with Gilliland.
Ross Chastain trying to make the move on the outside, get around Todd Gilliland. Harrison Burton is right there behind him. And Austin Hill in that blue and white 16 truck inside the top 10 as well. 2 laps remaining. This is a great battle. 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Hill, last week's winner at Daytona, started on the pole today. Back inside the top 10 again. Another strong run.
Well, right around the yellow line for Hill.
Meanwhile, Kyle Busch coming to the line. 1 lap remaining. Kyle Busch chasing history. Trying to win in the Truck Series for the 52nd time. Breaking the tie with Ron Hornaday, the Hall of Famer. And Kyle has about a 0.7 of a second lead on Johnny Sauter. Kyle Busch coming through turn 4. He makes history today. The winningest driver in Truck Series history is Kyle Busch.
Nice. Thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
52 wins.
Congratulations on 52, my friend. It's a pleasure doing business with you. Thank you for letting me do this for you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, TRD. Thank you, everybody.
Nobody has done it better in the Truck Series than Kyle Busch. And he has put his name in a position in the record books that I don't think anyone will ever top. I don't think anyone will ever win more races in the Truck Series than what Kyle Busch has done.
You know, Vince, I was at Lucas Oil Raceway back in about 2001. Kyle Busch was a 16-year-old, made his Truck Series debut, had a top 10 finish there, and then they determined that you had to be 18 to run in the Truck Series due to some reasons, and Kyle had to actually step away for a couple years, but when he came back to NASCAR, he came back with a vengeance, and he's won now 195 times over the 3 major series of NASCAR.
92 Xfinity Series wins, 51-time winner in the Monster Energy Cup Series.
Put on quite the smoke show there, didn't he?
A special weekend for Kyle. Not only does he become the winningest driver in Truck Series history, but he will make his 500th career Cup start tomorrow.
I tell you, those of us that have been around this sport a long time, Michael, you and I, Vince, I really appreciate what he's been able to do. What an amazing career. And he's got so much time to go, yet what an amazing career he's had.
All rowdy all the time. Kyle Busch breaks the all-time win record in Atlanta. What a night here in Atlanta. The NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series post-race show from Atlanta Motor Speedway, where Kyle Busch has won this rain-interrupted race after a red flag of about 17 minutes. We went back to racing, and the final laps belonged to Rowdy. Wins for the 52nd time in the Truck Series, the winningest driver all time, and a 5-time winner in Atlanta. Great run tonight for Johnny Sauter tonight, too. He finishes second. He's with Allen.
Yes, it was, Vince. And Johnny Sauter, happy we at least had a shot, went back green. What more did you need to get the 51?
You know, I got to him, and I just didn't feel like I had enough to get to the top of him. So I just want to give a shout out to the Deppy family. We're thinking of him. We lost Dave this week, and I want to say hi to Dennis in the hospital. He's got leukemia. Hopefully he's doing better. But so proud of everybody at ThorSport. You know, Ford Motor Company. Ford F-150 was good tonight, and just thank all the guys at the shop, Fab Shop, Finish Fab, Body Shop, Body Hangers, just everybody. You know, thank Duke and Rhonda especially for giving me the opportunity to come back and race. I just didn't think I could get it there. So just thank Tenda, Ride TV, everybody. I'm bummed because I I thought I timed it right, and I was pushing him, and he was doing a good job of walking, and I just didn't think I could get there. So it's a good start for us, though. I'm happy with the effort. Thank Rich and all these guys. It just need a little bit more. So if I go back and watch the replay, I hope I'm not kicking myself in the ass for not making that move to the top. But I just, honestly, at that point, I didn't feel like I could get it done.
Always something to learn, Hermie.
Here he is, Kyle Busch, finally in victory lane for the 52nd time in his Truck Series career. Crashed in turn 2, but there you have it. Kyle, 36 wins for you in a KBM truck, 16 wins in your buddy Billy Ballou's truck, who's at the racetrack today. You personally and your team have always invested so much in this series. So what does 52 mean to you?
Well, that certainly means a lot. And, I want to thank everybody at Cessna and Toyota, our amazing partners that get us here to allow us to do what we do. And I had Billy Ballou on board with us here today. And Billy's right over here as well. So what's up, brother? Hell yeah, we got one. I got one finally. You got plenty.
Oh, no, we do it together.
Thank you, man. So it took getting Billy Ballou back on my truck to be able to get me a win here, So we might have to make that an annual reoccurrence. But I can't say enough about my guys. Everybody here at Kyle Busch Motorsports, they do a phenomenal job. And Rowdy Manufacturing, really want to thank Monster Energy, Adidas, DVX Sunglasses, Black Clover, and, of course, the fans, too, So I slipped getting out. It's a little wet out here, in case y'all didn't notice. But it was a great race out there. I wish we could have ended it. I would have rather seen Harrison finish second. I'm not sure how far he fell, but he ran a great race today. That was cool to see the 18 right up there as well, too, with the Safe Flight Auto Glass truck.
That's Kyle Busch. He wins in Atlanta. Kyle Busch. Vince?
His first win here since 2009. His 5th overall victory at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And, of course, this is one he will never forget. Brexton may even remember it. It's the record breaker. 52 for Kyle Busch, the all-time winningest driver in Truck Series history.
We knew it was just a matter of time, the way he performs, and doesn't run that many races anymore, but always a threat, and just a great job tonight fighting his way to victory lane.
Just a phenomenal effort for Kyle and Rudy and that entire bunch.
Next week, we'll be under the lights in Las Vegas. Can't wait for that. Racing on Friday night, March 1st. For Alan Cavana and Hermie Sadler, Michael Waltrip, Phil Parsons, I'm Vince Welch. Thanks for being with us today and tonight from Atlanta Motor Speedway, where Kyle Busch has set the record and is now the winningest driver in Truck Series history. Now let's go to Brian Lonis for NHRA Saturday Nitro Live in Phoenix.